So this video is going to be a little fun. I figured out that you can almost get a free virtual machine from ChatGPT, which is powerful enough, but it is sandboxed. And what that means is that the network and disk primarily are restricted. Like you can't do anything that you would possibly be able to do with a virtual machine, but still it gives you a lot of stuff to do. And if you're creative enough, like I spent roughly about 2 hours today on this and understanding this inside out, you can even get a remote SSH shell on this machine with sudo access. But again, the restrictions apply for network, disk, and other things which are there. But this machine is actually powerful. I'm not going to show you how exactly you can get root access to this machine, which I just did. I'll show you the SSH terminal in a while. But I'll tell you how can you access this machine. So there are a couple of things. In order to get access to ChatGPT VPS, you have to be on a paid plan. It doesn't matter what plan this is. It could also be a $20 plan. You don't have to have a $200 plan. You have to use ChatGPT work in cloud, right? I think it would also work with Codex in cloud. I did not try it. I just saw somewhere on Twitter that it works on ChatGPT work. So I tried it on that, but it could possibly work. So the reason you needed cloud is because obviously when you use cloud, then it uses the cloud virtual machine. And that's all you have to do basically. So how this effectively works is that either you can use the desktop app or you can use it in the web terminal interface as well, or on your mobile phone as well. So right now I'm going to go ahead and say in the work tab, and because I'm inside browser, it's automatically using the cloud VM. Can you list me the specs of this virtual machine and things like disk space, RAM, CPU, etc. And the reason it can work is because this command is evaluated on tool calls which has access to this virtual machine's infrastructure, right? You won't be able to use this directly, but the CPU, for example, these 9 vCPUs and 15 GB RAM and about 64 gigabytes of disk is there, right? There is no GPU on this instance, but this is decent enough infrastructure for doing a lot of stuff. And that is what I feel this is actually a killer for people who have been, just paying or using stuff like OpenClaw or these sort of agents, right? Where the whole premise was that they are getting some sort of compute to back them. Now, your ChatGPT instance, especially in this work and the cloud instance, are actually getting real computer. They are not getting they are technically a formal sandbox, but they are getting sandboxes which have file systems that persist, workspaces that persist, but the compute is also powerful enough. 9 vCPUs and 15 GB RAM is actually a good configuration. It's actually a good configuration to be included in your $20 plan. Now, getting an SSH into this virtual machine took me a lot of time because of all the security and sandboxes and everything that they have applied. And I had no support to contact, which would have made it easier for me. And if you're somebody who is interested into DNS, networking, buying your domain, configuring stuff, and you're looking for a provider that helps you, gives you real support, then you should check out today's sponsor, dnSimple. So generally speaking, when you buy a domain, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. DNS records, whois information. So these are some of the easy things that can go wrong. But on the other hand, you also have things like CNAME aliasing. Then there's a concept of glue records, which allow you to create your own DNS servers. And a few more advanced features of DNS, which are just simply not available on a lot of providers. For example, CNAME aliasing is not available on GoDaddy. Glue records is not available on Cloudflare. And the most important, and something that almost all the providers lack, is human support. The last thing you want is that when you need some help with DNS and its configuration, that you don't have anyone to help you. And it's actually not a wise idea to wipe code your DNS because, if your AI makes even a small mistake, your production website can go down. That is where today's sponsor, dnSimple, comes into play. They do one thing and they do it right, which is managing your DNS hosting and domain name. Getting started with dnSimple is simple. All you have to do is create a free account, and once you do, you can add new domains or transfer existing domains from other platforms. For example, I recently bought this mehulmohan.ai domain from dnSimple using an AI agent itself. Let me show you how. dnSimple also offers a CLI which you can install, and once you do, you can register domain with a single CLI command like this. Now, this command over here can be run either by you or by your AI agent. And the discovery of all the commands that exist for your AI agent is also simple because of the help flag. Let me actually register a .top domain through my AI agent. Hi Claude, I want you to register a domain for my project project, which I would create in this folder. The domain that I'm thinking of is mehulmohan.top. First of all, check for the availability of this domain. Let me know the price, and then we will proceed to the registration part. Imagine that you are just vibe coding a project and you just want a domain, and all you have to do is talk to your AI to register that for you. And as you can see, the moment it is done, Claude is now asking me what I want to do. Let's say I want to enable Whois privacy. I'll keep the auto renewal off for now, and I'll just go with the default settings for now, right? So this sounds good. Submit. And as you can see, within a few seconds, Claude was able to register a domain for me. And not only this can now also customize this for me if needed. For example, if you're deploying it on Vercel or Cloudflare or any of the hosting platforms, you can just ask Claude to configure the DNS, CNAME, A records, everything for you using the CLI itself. It's super simple to install and get started with CLI. As you can see, they have commands for macOS, Linux, even Windows. So once you do that, you have to authenticate, and that's all you have to do. Rest of the work, you can obviously go ahead and read what each command is doing, but leave it to the AI agents and they can do it for you. Of course, I still recommend that you edit these name servers or DNS records, or at least know what's going on over here instead of wipe coding it completely. But yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can just ask Claude to add an A record to a specific subdomain pointed to a specific IP address, and it'll just work. And once again, DNSimple has one of the best supports out there. So if you're stuck at any point once you buy a domain, you can reach out to their team and they'll assist you all the way. So do check out DNSimple. All the links are in the description. And now back to the video. Now it does has network access, but what I have seen, at least right now, that the network is heavily limited, right? So for example, UDP traffic is not allowed at all. So you would not be able to run any sort of reverse SSH or anything like that directly. Second is that you cannot access the machine directly. And this has been my biggest blocker, right? Because even though they give you this machine, you cannot access any of this because AI accesses this on your behalf. And one thing which I found very hard to do was to convince ChatGPT to upload a reverse shell or give you that ability. Because the networking is also sort of weirdly restricted. First of all, there are some things that I found out. There is no inbound connection allowed. This does not have like a private, like a public IP or anything, so that you just write a server and just listen on it. Yes, you can do that, but you just cannot get into that server, right? So there is no inbound. Second is that even outbound is restricted only to HTTPS, and WebSockets is also allowed. Third is that the whole machine is accessible by AI only, right? Because obviously, like if I upload the shell, I would be able to access the machine, right? Reverse shell. But even in order to do that, I have to go through AI. And the problem here is that I tried creating some shells in Node.js and, compiling them in a binary, figuring out ways. But 5.6 Sol and other models straight up refuse to execute anything arbitrary until and unless they have not reviewed it, right? And whenever they would review it, they would just find that this is like an arbitrary shell, and they would just not execute it in the first place, right? So it was like super hard to get that shell access, but eventually I was able to get that. Getting shell access, however, obviously does not fix anything else. Like the outbound traffic is still restricted and you can't do like a whole lot of stuff. But that is at least fun to have. Awesome. So what you're seeing right now is the root access, the root shell that I have inside, the workspace that has been given to me. And of course, this has a lot of restrictions, but there are some tools like HTOP already available. And as you can see, like we have a bunch of these cores. Looks like shared cores. I'm not sure like if they would give dedicated cores or not. And you can see like a bunch of other processes and stuff running over here. So I'm not going to teach you exactly like how do you get reverse shell on this, but this is very interesting for me because of a couple of reasons. First of all, this is included in a $20 subscription, which is a big thing according to me, because this subscription is becoming way too powerful at this point. You are getting model like GPT 5.6 Sol, which is the frontier, like a state-of-the-art model. I'll do a full Opus 5 review where I'll talk more about this model and how this compares with Opus 5 and my general experience. But some hints about this is that this is much less guardrailed model that I have seen, even compared to Opus 5 recently, which is released, right? In the initial video, I told you, like, it does not have any guardrails or anything as such. But the more I have used it, the more I have realized that Opus 5 has a lot more guardrails than I realized. So anyway, like a $20 plan from Codex has this. It's now giving you a ephemeral. So it's not permanent, obviously. So it's not like a huge cost to them, but it's still like an ephemeral 9V CPU and a 15 GB RAM instance. I'm pretty sure these CPUs are not going to be dedicated because they'll not, I mean, who knows? Like they could give you dedicated CPUs as well. But at least, in this case, I feel that these are shared CPUs plus about 60 GB disk, right? And in some of these cloud providers, this setup itself would be actually much more expensive if you are running it 24/7, right? But again, like it's a restricted, it's a sandbox. It's not exactly like a VPS for you, but it's permissive enough that you can do a lot of things. For example, I'll not be surprised if you can just download FFmpeg and run some processing. We already know about ChatGPT sites, which you can use to just deploy anything. You can do all Git operations basically. What this means is that you don't have to set up your own virtual machine. What you can do is ask ChatGPT to Git clone your repository, give it your credentials, and just let it work on a VPS, which is managed by them. And it's like a big enough VPS, right? You don't have to worry about space or anything. 60 GB is a good enough space for every single project, at least most of them, right? And of course, a pattern that I've seen is that they are sort of dividing everything into these scratches. So these are like individual, I don't know, some sort of sessions or something, like different conversations of some sorts. I don't exactly know if they are themselves protected against each other. But I mean, from a file system level, I can go ahead and access all of them, right? And you're going to see something interesting that I found out over here is that if I'm doing any curl requests, first of all, this goes through their proxy network. So, the arbitrary requests, generally like arbitrary requests are blocked. But if you look at something like ifconfig.me, you see that this IP address that we get, which is like an IPv6, this interestingly belongs to Cloudflare, right? So OpenAI, this infrastructure that we are seeing, this might as well be a Cloudflare setup, which would be interesting. I don't possibly know if this is actual Cloudflare sandbox or not, because we do have like root access. I am root. I can't use sudo for some reason. But this is like most likely this is a Docker container or something. As a matter of fact, one interesting thing would be to just install Codex or even Claude Code on this and see like what's going on. Let's see, I want to try this out. What's going to happen if I install Claude on a VPS which OpenAI owns? Yeah, so these sort of things also exist. Like these are problems. A lot of these directories and stuff are not actually like you can't really override them. So what I can do instead is I can say it. Can you, maybe I should just put it here. Can you SSH root @Codex Linux and install Claude Code inside it? It has a restrictive file system. And this made me realize, as a matter of fact, I can just go ahead and ask my Claude itself to run arbitrary commands, right? Because we anyway have SSH. So I can ask it, can you give me a full breakdown of what's happening on this server? It is a restricted server. And as you can see, like Opus 5 guardrails got triggered on something so stupid, which is like, beyond me at this point. Like, I am pretty sure that this was not the case when the model was launched, right? I have this on video, like the first video that I did. I asked it literally to do a security audit of the project, and it did that. I'm feeling that they added, or they at least fine-tuned, or just secured the guardrails even further. And same for this. Like, I mean, how is it even like a cybersecurity prompt? And as you can see, we have some concise summary on this. It's an OpenAI Codex Cloud Agent sandbox, something that we have already seen. It's using Kata containers per container micro VM with its own kernel. It's not like a plain Docker instance. So it's like a fully isolation. As much as it's possible on software alone. So Tailnet is something that just I'm using, something that you should not have read in this video, but yeah, might as well. I should just tell you some couple of approaches that did not work. I initially started with, like I mentioned, like a reverse shell on my own, but that did not work out. Then I tried Cloudflare daemon as well, Cloudflare D, and that also did not work. And then finally, even Tailnet was a pain to get working, but I was able to get it to work after a few hours. And this is heavily proxied, it's heavily restricted. So all your traffic flows through a proxy of OpenAI. So that's why they can possibly like allow or disallow any sort of domains or stuff. So that's why like it's not like a full VM as such. but you do get like a root access, root SSH inside it. This is also one interesting thing, that they actually switch off the computer, the compute part, if you are gone, right? So if nothing is active here, they'll not use the compute in order to save money. So this is also not as reliable as, you're just hosting a web server. But first of all, like, it's not possible to get any inbound connection on this machine in the first place. But even if you're able to, like I am, still it will not be like super useful to host anything, because of course, like it's painful to get it to be working. One thing I can ask it, can you figure out if this is using Cloudflare networking stack? And I mean, like, you don't necessarily need to install Claude or anything, but it still got installed. But I just figured out, that my system's Claude can be used to just access or run arbitrary commands directly. But yeah, this is actually pretty fun. If you just want to play around, you just want a Linux machine. I don't know if apt install would work. I just want to see, like, can I install btop? Let's just see. Yeah, so again, apt update and apt install both are a little weird. So maybe I can just ask it, can you, I mean, that's what life is now, just asking agents to do stuff if you're stuck. So yeah, let's just hope that Claude is able to do it. And regarding the egress, yes, egress goes through Cloudflare's network, definitely from the registries. So this is Cloudflare Warp. It's also possible that they're just using Cloudflare's Warp as a VPN, right? Because Warp can be configured on machines. It's an MITM filtering proxy, not just a tunnel. Codex installs its own certificate authority so that the proxy can inspect allowless TLS traffic also. So this is huge, because what this means is that your TLS traffic, like HTTPS, that can also be decrypted by OpenAI, right? Separate proxies exist for HTTP, for SOCKS, for WebSocket, right? Which is interesting. Like, so once you are inside the machine, you can basically get this alpha out of like how Cloudflare and how OpenAI are doing stuff. But yeah, this is possible that this is not Cloudflare's stack, but rather just a VPN, that Cloudflare's VPN that they're using. All right, so we have installed btop now. So I just want to see if I can get a nice UI, because generally I prefer, the btop UI much more over htop. All right, so something bad happened. We just got a segmentation fault, which is something I've never seen with btop. I mean, I can just go ahead and, just like every other developer in the world today, give it back to Claude and let it figure it out. Oh, got it. So the segmentation fault Claude is saying is because of the warnings themselves. I would assume like they will output errors or something, right? If that is like a deal breaker. Awesome. So Claude has fixed this for us again. Let's go back. Let's run this again. And of course, that was not the solution. Just like, we would see it with our own code bases 6 months ago. These niche things or systems engineering things are still, a lot of times they just get it wrong. I'm not going to spend time fixing like this, what's happening here. Maybe like Claude set it up wrong. But the idea is that you do have like a real access over here, a real shell SSH into the machine. And by the way, this ZSH is not configured by me, right? So this comes with the setup itself, which is interesting, that they're not using just bash. They are using ZSH as a default. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. Something new, something interesting I've figured out about ChatGPT and Codex. That's all for this video. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna see you in the next video very soon. If you're still watching, make sure you leave a comment, "I watched till the end" below to tell me that you were still here, and let me know what do you think about the video.